Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This is our Edgewalker Cafe for October 6th, 2022. Did I say that right? 2022. I'm Judy Neal. I'm the founder of Edgewalkers, and we're just delighted today to have our guest speaker, Amara Pagano, and Patricia Campanile, who is a senior associate with Edgewalkers, is facilitating this session. So, Patricia, I'm going to turn it over to you and let us begin.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Judy Neal, a longtime friend and colleague of mine who originally wrote Edgewalkers many years ago. And I'm really excited to have Amara Pagano on the call. Besides being a dear friend, I've been observing you and doing some dancing and movement with you for, well, Amara, quite some time. It's at least 10 years, maybe longer. We originally met on Maui, and now I know you're in Ibiza, Spain. And I just had an opportunity to move and dance with you just a few weeks ago with my husband Dario, so in Greenwich, Connecticut. So welcome and thank you. And I want to thank you all for being with us today in this sacred space. And what I'd like to do before I introduce Amara and we begin our cafe and our dialogue is just for all of us to just take a moment. I'm just going to bring us into a centering to kind of bring us together. I know we've all come from different places and anchor in our energy and our intention as a group. So you can keep your video on or not, and just take a moment and everybody just feel your feet on the ground if you're able to do that. And if you want to close your eyes and go within or whatever works for you, and just take 3 really deep breaths and just kind of come into this sacred, beautiful moment. You could be anywhere right now, and we've all chosen to be here together at this beautiful time. And then just another deep cleansing breath, and just releasing any stress or concern or hurrying about the day you may have had, and just really being in this moment. And we take another deep breath as we bring in our body, mind, and spirit, grounding to the earth, connecting with our higher being, appreciating all the blessings in our lives. And knowing that as we walk and live on the edge, whatever that might mean for us, we are always taken care of if we allow ourselves to be. We are always supported if we open up to the support. And we are open to whatever guidance, and message, and peace, and learning whatever we might need to give and receive at this precious time. Just feel your energy, feel your heart, feel your breath. One more deep breath, and then just open your eyes and come back to the group. I needed that. Okay. Okay. Thank you all. So I'm Amara. Thank you for being with us. And I'm going to do a quick introduction and share with you. I know many of you have read this, but today, today's cafe is about embodied awakening and conscious movement. Give me a minute here. Amara Pagano is the creator of the Path of Azul, a path of embodied awakening and a practice of conscious movement. She is committed to the journey of awakening love. She has been teaching movement as a spiritual practice for 30 years and facilitates and trains others to create psycho-spiritual movement experience as a path of the heart. Amara is also the co-founder of the global conscious movement community OneDanceTribe that produces events with teachers and presenters of different modalities with the purpose of creating a unified and collaborative field to support personal and collective evolution. So, a true edge walker in terms of the definition. So, Amara, welcome. Thank you for being with
Thank
us, as
you.
I said. And I would love to hear from you. Tell us anything else you might like to share about yourself. But when you talk about embodied awakening and conscious movement, can you speak more to that for us so we can really go a little bit deeper with you? We're more expanded.
Sure. First, I want to just notice that there's several people on this call that just danced with me, which is really sweet to see and to feel. We are in the midst of an online event, which is designed to bring this work and open a space for people to find their way towards it, to feel if it's a resonance for them, if it's something that can support them. I feel like movement and embodiment and embodied awakening are a really big part of what we're experiencing now in our world. They're like important pieces that help us to find our way, because one way of saying it is that the world is on its edge, I guess, and here we are to be a part of it, to make our contribution, and to be as present as we can, and to be as engaged in our own evolutionary journey as possible. And for me, that has meant embodied awakening. It has meant allowing the body to be a part of the journey. So often in our spirituality and in our awakening, it's a separation, it's a further separation, a further disconnect from the body in order to rise in our spirituality. And I feel like we're living this moment where something different is being asked for. We're actually being asked to bring, to to open our vertical channel and to bring it here into the horizontal, so that it has impact, greater impact here on in what actually happens on the planet, because it's critical right now what's happening on the planet. So for me, it's like if we can get it embodied, then it changes the energy in the field.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a thought, then it doesn't change the field as strongly in our experience of living together. And when we can get it embodied, like, just for a moment, think about forgiveness. Like when you think forgiveness, it only has so much impact. You can only think your way into that so far. And if, in order for forgiveness to truly change, inside of you and in the world around you, it has to enter into an embodied experience of forgiveness. You have to feel it in your body for it to change, right? And it's the same kind of concept. Like, in order to create change in the world, we have to get it into our body first. So it's kind of, it's not new. I guess people have known this forever, but it's certainly in our modern world, we've grown further and further away. We've grown further and further into disconnect from the body, and grown so dependent on our thinking that we've lost touch with the resource of the body. We've lost touch with the intelligence of the body. So this is what I'm curious about and serving.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all doing our part in our own unique way in terms of bringing what
Yeah.
we're guided and have to create and to contribute.
Exactly.
Do you find what came up for me as I was listening to you is if that feels vulnerable for some people? Because what I know for myself is that I've really had to work in my particular journey, not so much now, but to be in my body. And by being more embodied and literally being the change you wish to see in the world, and we all know that quote by Gandhi, being it isn't just thinking it, and it's even not just meditating, because we can meditate up and out and that's great, but we still are here in the third dimensional world in our bodies. And I know that, at least for me, and I thought many of my clients and people that I've worked with, and I'm curious if you find this as you're working with, you work with people all over the world, online and live, that for some people to really embody that, they're embodying everything a lot, so
Yes.
it's a balance between bringing in the higher dimensions and the evolution, but then also feeling lots of feelings. So I'm wondering, in the process of that, does it also heal is it healing for people? Mm.
Absolutely. It has to be a healing journey because, you know, it's like we're awakening the body's capacity to feel, which
Mhm.
we've numbed down, and we're tending to our soul's journey in this lifetime. We're tending to the things that we've encountered and the traumas and the impacts that we've encountered, that are stored in the body. So there's like good reasons why we numb down the body and why we close it down, because it's safer that way in a way. But as we evolve, we have to go through this process of opening the system of the body up again so that we can actually be who we're here to be. Okay? And yes, that journey of opening the system back up again allows us to tend to all those pieces. But what I appreciate for myself in that, and I imagine you might feel the same way, is that for me, all of that material that we've accumulated, all of those things that we've experienced, they are the exact things that we're here to live and to be with and to grow through. It's exactly what our soul, kind of contracted or signed up for, or, on a certain level chose in order to do the work that's here to be done. So the body then becomes a very direct way to access that, because it's very clear. It's one of the fastest ways I know to access these things that tend to kind of be not like in total consciousness. There's parts of them that are operating in the unconscious, and the movement and the dance are a very good way to bring that material kind of forward in a way that you can handle, because that's the interesting thing about the movement. It's like it's a reflective surface and you're guiding it. It's like you're not going to take yourself further than what you're ready to do, so it becomes this very kind of step by step process that essentially you're directing. I'm guiding and supporting you and helping you to go through the process and to be connected to your body and to learn and to, discover and to inquire and to do all these fun things. But in the end, the healing elements of it are self-directed. They're coming directly from your soul to you without like bypassing the mind, bypassing all the thoughts about it. And that's the beauty of the movement and the dance as a vehicle for the work.
Yeah, I know, having recently just danced with you, and the group I was in here in Greenwich, Connecticut, and other places in Maui and so forth, is I noticed that when you move, the energy moves, and it also becomes more fluid. Like, so sometimes I've seen a lot of people do it, they don't even know that they've got some stagnation or some blocks. But in the self-directed movement, and I think you made a good point, because it's almost like conscious dance. This isn't like, okay, everybody does this. You have the music, you create a very sacred and safe space for people to move or be, in whatever they need. Some people need to maybe stand in a corner. Some people need to breathe. Some people really move, and to just, and I know you really hold that space and work the field when you've got that happening. And then the connection with people, if you want to really connect with others, you can. If not, if you just want to kind of be on your own. So it provides I think, a safe framework to access and release, but also bring in that which is more of who we are. Would you say that that's some of what happens?
Absolutely. And you touched on an interesting thing because I feel it's very relational in a way. It's really tending to the different layers of relationship. It's supporting you to feel you, because often we it's we don't have that intimate contact even with our own being, so it's nurturing that and bringing that into clarity and into connection, a felt sense in your body of you from a deeper place inside of you. And it's also this environment where you're with other people, whether you're dancing online or whether we're dancing in a room, you are in a group field.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way that we are learning about being connected. It's a way that we're feeling our interconnectedness. And it's I think it's an interesting part of the movement practice because we are learning how to be a we. It's one of the things that we're like collectively learning is how to be a we. And the dance floor becomes this place where we get to really fully be ourselves, because that's what creates a strong we, is a very clear I that is willing to surrender and be a part of a we. Okay. And so these things are all being worked, and you're in relationship and feeling yourself as part of something larger. Like we just danced online with like 300 people, like all over it's one of the fun things about dancing online, because you know you're connecting all these little dots from all over the world, and you're moving together, and there's a part of you that is like learning how to feel the field, learning how to feel this fabric and this way that we are connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I first met you and Pier Paolo, your husband, your partner, we were all on Maui, and at that time, your movement was really, there was not online. It was just pretty much
No.
live. Right? Everything was really, you did retreats in Maui and you go to different places around the country or in the world. But the online piece, particularly I think with COVID, is really something you were testing out. And what's so exciting and curious to me is how well received and invested so many people are in dancing online, even if you're by yourself in your own room. So what have you found with that? I mean, I think the ability to touch the planet and connect that way, like you said, you had what, 400 people or 300 people dancing, and you might have 50 or 100 live, but I mean that in itself I think speaks to a need and a connection that people really want to experience, particularly now in the world. Would you say that's the case, or?
Yes, for sure. If you had asked me 3 years ago if we could possibly ever dance online, I would have said, no, never, ever. We can't dance online. There's no way to connect. And yet, it's been such a beautiful experience. It's been one of the gifts of COVID to discover that we can, to go past the limitation that I had on myself, that we couldn't, and to discover that we actually can, and that it actually is serving in ways that dancing in person doesn't serve. And if we actually put them together, if we have both options, it provides a really rich experience. Okay, so that's what I'm currently, now that we can dance in person again, I find myself kind of weaving these two together and feeling the way that they support each other, because things happen online differently than they happen in a room. And I continually have people that have only danced in person, that were like me. We cannot dance online ever. And they, you know, I gently try to just encourage them, like, I know, I get it, I was there too, and give it a try. Give it a try with me. Let's see. Because somehow I feel like I'm able to reach through this medium
Mhm.
and use the technology to connect us even more. And there's something about that piece that I find intriguing. How can we use technology to connect us? Instead of to disconnect us, how can we use it to connect us? So I am an advocate now
Mm-hmm.
of the online reality and allowing it to be a
Mm-hmm.
part of things.
So but you have teacher trainings, right? And you have events around the world and around the country, right?
Yes.
And we'll make sure that I think in the chat, didn't you put your link and everything? I mean, we still have time, but I
You,
want to make sure that people know where they can find more information if they want to dance online or if they want to go to an event. That they're pretty
Sure.
on. It's pretty ongoing, isn't it? I mean, you're. I mean, you take a break once in a while, but I know that this is really talk about evolution. It's truly evolving, and
yeah.
yeah. What?
Yes.
Tell me.
I just put into the chat, just let me explain to people what I
Sure.
put into the
Mm,
chat. So I just put in the main website if you're curious and you want to just see a little bit more of what it is. And then I put in the link, the second link is for this event that's actually happening right now. That's a free event, so it's kind of a good way to just check it out and see if it's something that works for you. It's a 5-day event. We're in day 2, so tomorrow you're welcome to join for day 3. So that link is the second one that's in there. So
mhm. All right. How I'm curious how I know I'm just going back a little ways, just kind of briefly. How did you first? I'd say birth this, but this is clearly your gift, your expression. I mean, the conscious embodiment. I mean, a lot of us have done, sacred dance and movement, but this is even more specific. How would you share or describe what it is specifically, or how you got to this point? And what do you mean by Azul? You called the path Azul.
those are a lot of questions,
I
Patricia.
know. I
Let's
know.
break it down.
Yeah. Break
Okay.
it down.
So Azul is the name of the work
Mhm.
that it's a spirit name actually that was given to myself and to my partner Pierpaolo around with this work. It was a particular blessing. I have pretty much always taught conscious movement. I was one of those people who kind of knew at a young age like where my alignment was. Okay. And I, at the time, was teaching Five Rhythms, which is a body of work that's created by a woman named Gabrielle Roth, beautiful, powerful woman who opened the world of conscious dance. And I taught her work for 20 years. And then life and my soul started to speak to me and nudge me, even though I was resistant at first to listening to what I was receiving, but clearly nudging me to let go of that and to make space for the next. And that wasn't an easy process. It took a while. It took being in India and having I don't know if any of you have been to India and gone to an Ayurvedic doctor. It's quite a scene and a production. Me and about 100 people all waiting. And, you finally like go into this very little room. I was actually only there with my husband, Pierpaolo. I was like tagging along on this adventure to the doctor. And we finally get called in to the room and we sit down. And instead of looking at Pierpaolo, he looks at me and he's like, okay, let me read your pulse. And I was like, well, but we're here for Pierpaolo. And he said, no, let me read your pulse. I was like, okay. I give him my hand. He puts his fingers on my wrist. And the first thing he says is, you are letting fear run your life. You have to stop right now. And I was like, whoa, wow, okay. And I quickly realized that he was absolutely right. And I literally went home that night and like wrote a letter to my teacher at the time. And I said, because what was happening for me personally is that I was involved in this teaching that was carrying me much further in my journey. It's kind of like Gabrielle is really good at freeing the body and freeing the energy and freeing the shadow, freeing us to be ourselves, which includes a lot of unconscious behavior, okay? When we're free to be ourselves, right? And so what was happening for me is I was learning to tend to digest and integrate and purify these things that I had been unable to see until then, okay, through this work. So I wrote this letter to my teacher and I said, can I combine what I'm learning with you with my movement work? Can I put it together? And I gave him the letter. I was like, okay, I'm just stopping the fear right here. And I just, went forward and I asked for a name. He said yes. And so I asked, can I get a name? Because everybody had spiritual names in India. But I already had my name. Amara is not a spirit name. It's a spirit name from my father. But I didn't have a spiritual name. So I thought maybe the work could have a spiritual name. So I asked, and a process unfolded where Azul arrived. Yeah.
Thank you. I've spent lots of time with you, but I've never heard that quite so specifically about how that unfolded and how they connected. And it's really, you were in the right place at the right time. Things are never what we think, are they?
No.
And when we're ready, the teacher appear. Very often, the teacher will appear. So, you really got. Thank you for sharing that. And you went with it. Fear or no fear, you continue to commit and to evolve with that. And
Yeah.
I'm feeling like when what you're seeing, because you work with so many people and dance would hold the space and the energy for large groups of people around the world, live and otherwise. Would you say that the collective field, from your experience, is evolving, is elevating? People are shifting. Would you say that in spite of what we all might see out there, that from your experience, is it shifting and evolving?
Absolutely. We are definitely in a great process of awakening. It's easy for it to get lost and hard to see sometimes in the midst of everything that is happening, but it is affirmed to me every time I step onto a floor.
Mm-hmm.
There are more and more of us who are waking up. There's more and more of us who are taking a stand inside of ourselves for what we feel inside to be true that doesn't necessarily match what's happening out in the world, where I feel, so many people, it's like a tipping point. I think we really are, like, this is a concept that I think is relevant to the moment. Like can we get to a point where there's enough of us that it tips
Mm-hmm.
into the new?
Right.
Yeah. And so it's so important, like for everybody that's here, whatever you're doing in your lives, that you are in your process with that. Okay. That's going to look different for each of us, but it's very important for all of us, as best we can, to be kind of finding our alignment and moving in that way. It's one of the things that I feel really passionate about supporting people in. Like, you know, and it's what it, for me, it happens through the movement because they encounter themselves over and over again. And as layers fall away, more and more of the essence and who they truly are emerges. And from that place, it becomes very clear what you're here to do and how you're meant to serve and what is meant to happen. So I'm a part of the cleanup squad that helps people to feel themselves and
Mhm.
discover what that is. You know, because we have like an inner radar right now that wants to know this. We know it's important. It's like it's collectively been suppressed for a long time, but we know now. There's something in us that knows that we need to be moving in alignment with who we are.
Would you
So,
also say that this is a path of aligning more into our true our own integrity? You know, I use the word integrity, but really in that alignment and that letting go and that bringing in, edge walkers are about kind of straddling the heaven and earth as we
mm,
ground more into our kind of psycho spiritual human path and bring in our highest being and we integrate.
mm,
The word integrate comes in. It's like when we're aligned with that path of integration and integrity, life also just works more easily. It's more
absolutely.
magical. And, I know I have to share a kind of a cute story, and you'll
Yeah.
appreciate this because you know Dario, a lot of you do, but I was just kind of off the other day. I don't know why. I was having like an off day. And all of a sudden Dario comes in with the little speaker of like kind of music that you would have at your events. And he goes, come on, I had my robe on. He goes, come on, let's move the energy, let's connect, let's dance. So we're there in our robes and he's got his little speaker from his studio and we started moving in the living room and
So,
moving and dancing and releasing. And I was whatever I was crying about, I think I was just like feeling a collective grief about like Florida and like a lot of things that are going on with the hurricane and the grieving. And literally in 15 minutes my whole and then I started laughing. It was the sweetest thing. And but it connected us, and I was able to kind of move my grief and tap into, yes, there's a larger field, but I was also not able to, I could move beyond just the grieving. I could release that, but I moved right into my higher self, the evolution. And it just took 15 minutes of movement. And I'm sharing this because if I can get on your events, great. But if you can't, just sometimes even
right.
remembering to move your body, move the energy, get grounded, bring in, body, mind, and spirit, which is so much that edge walkers. But it was so sweet. And because he's also done so much of his own dance and movement. I mean, he and I used to do it all the time, even as a couple, or you do it with friends. It's a very bonding experience, but it shifted the energy like that. So I just had to share that
That's
you know, as,
sweet.
as an example of what you can even do if for some reason people can't tap into, let's say, they obviously can, but if they're not able to have the time or not able to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Turn on some good music and go. It'll help.
It shifts it. It really, really does. So,
Yeah.
I just feel so, as I do is, I look at those of our colleagues and friends that are here today that it's like a web that we're weaving. When I think about a spider web, it's weaving here and connecting here and connecting here and connecting there. I mean, I look at your Azul behind you, your kind of your image
Yeah.
there. You're right that how the interconnectedness is what's going to really, I believe, elevate the planet at this time. And that where the new ideas, the innovation, the consciousness, because it's a call to consciousness is really
Absolutely.
what we're all doing. And, I'm wondering if there's, anything else from your experience that you would invite people to look at or anything else that you feel. I want to have some Q&A in just a few minutes, but anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, you just talked about consciousness,
Mhm.
and I was just thinking about how one of the ways that I've been like framing what's happening in the world is that like our technology is like kind of far above our consciousness. and that it's really a time for our consciousness to rise so that it works in conjunction with the technology. Like we wouldn't be, if that were true, we wouldn't be in fear right now that somebody could, like, push a button because they were like in a corner, right? Like that just wouldn't be happening. And so we've got technology in the hands of people that don't have the consciousness
Mhm.
to hold it,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
that's dangerous,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So it really is a matter of expanding and rising and raising our consciousness. I think, I don't know if you feel it this way, but for me, I feel like my whole body, mind, spirit, when I say embodiment, I'm speaking to all levels of all layers of body and all layers of self. When I say embodiment, that includes my body, my mind, my heart, my soul, and my spirit. It's bringing those layers of self into union. That's what embodiment is for me. Okay. And in when that is, it's a state of being that we don't quite live in yet,
Mhm.
right? Because that's a pretty high state. But we are, like, we're moving in that direction. We're having more and more moments of feeling that, more and more moments of feeling that union inside of us, right? And it's like our whole system is acclimating to a
Mhm.
higher frequency. This
Mhm.
is it's a little bit of what's happening, to all of us. I see you shaking your head, Patricia. You
Yeah.
agree.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
Mhm.
some others agree too, or kind of feel that inside of themselves, like this acclimation process that we're in um, to evolve in this moment. We are really being asked to make a leap. It's kind of like a leap into something that we don't know where it's landing. We're not even sure what's falling away yet. We're just really like mid motion with all of it. But it helps me to understand
Mhm.
that.
But no, as I say, one of the things that Edgewalkers we talk about bridging,
Uh-huh.
bridgers between the worlds or bridging to the next
Mm, beautiful.
reality, the next evolution, and what you're doing in the planet, and what just even having calls like this, it does create also a support system that we're not alone,
Yes,
whether it's online or in person. And I think that most of us would agree that it's kind of like your tribe, that regardless of whether we agree on everything, that there is a collective support that's really, I think, important, especially now as we recalibrate, as we um, elevate to the next level of consciousness and evolution.
yes. It's beautiful to hear you speak about the edge walkers. The people that know me that are here don't know what the edge walkers are. Maybe you should share another sentence or two with them so they know what more of your world.
Judy, do you want to just speak to that for a moment? What about edge walkers and what that? Yeah, because there are many people on here that are not that familiar with edge walkers. So there's some that are, but maybe a synopsis you could give to people.
Yes, yes, thank you. Um, I think even if you haven't heard the term edge walkers, if you're connected to Amara, you already know and embody what edge walkers is. And it comes from research that I did on leaders, primarily in business, who had a very strong spiritual life and who are also very effective in the material world. And so, Patricia, you've been talking a lot about bridging,
Mhm.
and Edgewalkers bridge the material and the spiritual. They integrate, they dance with both worlds to the point that there is not two worlds.
Mhm.
As Peggy O'Neill, who's one of our Edgewalker facilitators, would say, there really is only the consciousness of oneness.
Mhm.
And So we do our work through coaching and through workshops and writing, and we have a website. And it's an open community. Everyone is welcome. We just really want to support people in the bridging of the material and the spiritual world. And so the Edgewalker Cafes is one of our way of doing that, just being open to community and sharing wisdom that people like you, Amara, bring to wisdom and practices, because it's not just the seeing of what's going on in the world and sensing it and wanting to do something about it. It is having a way to do that that is grounded but divinely inspired. And so we're so grateful to have you share with us, Amara. Thank you. I hope that's helpful. And Patricia, what would you
Very.
That was
what
great.
would you add?
Well, I remember years ago, I'm at my family beach house here in Connecticut, and Judy used to come here when she lived in Connecticut, and she was writing a book, and she said, I don't remember how you said it, but you said, oh, I'm going to call it Edgewalkers. I'm like, that's me. Like, not that I needed a label or a word, but it was like, I always felt sort of like, I was in the world, but not of it. And I was walking a different kind of path. So I've been so touched and inspired and activated by the Edgewalker work. And I'm also a coach and a facilitator, and been certified in the work. But I think we've always felt the thing for a long time, Judy. I mean, that was decades ago. And I think that now we always felt like we were kind of waiting for the right time, on the planet, or for enough people to catch up, or, kind of holding that space and planting the seeds. And I think that now we're not just riding the wave, but we're creating, like almost like the surfboards, like we're all getting on it together. And then the cafe is one of the ways that we're bringing in other edge walkers on the planet that are doing their work to connect us all. So I'm so grateful to you, Judy, for all that we've shared. But it's really, I would invite people to go to the website too, edgewalkers.org. And it really talks about the skills and orientations and the qualities, and are you an edge walker? And again, it's not to label us, but it's, I think, a foundation, a container in which to, identify and create the support you might need. So that's what I would say about it. So
Thank you.
Right.
um,
Very
so
good.
I think that now it's about 3:40. Well, where I am, it's 3:42. I want to open up for maybe 5-10 minutes of any Q&A. If anybody has any questions or any comments, or anything for Amara, if you're open for that. Amara, is there anyone, we have a good group of people here. Is there anyone that would like to comment or ask Amara anything at this point? Or Judy, anybody for Amara? Anybody?
Or share.
Or share, yes, if anybody wants to share anything. I see we have quite a few things in the chat here. So you do not have to be a trained dancer to join. No, you do not, right, Amara? No.
No.
And actually, that's Lynn, who's going by the name of Biodance Doctor. Lynn's, and Lynn is part of a group that's in San Diego, where she lives in Arizona. So she is sharing the flavorcompanydance.com and inviting people to be a part of that if they're curious. She dances. Lynn, why don't you share? 5 days a week, I think you said?
Well, it's usually Monday through Friday. Sometimes the schedule changes, and then there might be an extra new moon and full moon ceremony as well. It's all online. It's on Zoom, and they're just absolutely lovely people. They become a really important part of my life.
And from what you're saying, an important part of your beingness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, several of my hats. It's very rare that several of my hats get met in one place, but these do, and I'm thrilled to share it.
So please check out
welcome
Amara.
everyone.
Thank you, Lynn, and check out Amara's website as well. I see Amara's hand up.
Yes, hi, I'm Amara.
Hi, Amara.
Hi. I am doing the 5-day thing.
Yes, I know.
With you, and I just want to take this time to show my gratitude. Like, this is so at the right time.
Great.
Everything's kind of lining up, and just really what I needed, and I'm really excited to keep moving forward. So thank you.
Beautiful. And I love that your baby is like nearby and in the
Yeah.
field. And hi.
We'll be
Hi, how are
dancing
you?
later.
Yeah. Aw,
And
super
I also see Jen. Hi, Jen. I'm so glad you're here. You said that you start every morning with qigong, and you said dancing sounds more healing. And then Judy wrote, "Have you tried doing qigong with music?" So where's Jen? Where are you?
Here. Nice to see you.
Hi. Hey. So good to see you.
Yeah. I am part of the Integral Transformational Practice Institute, ITP, that was founded by Michael Murphy and George Leonard. Michael Murphy was the co-founder of the Esalen Institute. Some of you may have been there before. And our practice integrates, I mean, it's basically a combination of meditation with yoga, with progressive muscle relaxation and Aikido and like some Tai Chi and some Qigong. So I kind of pick and choose. It's not active right now, but we're basically raising consciousness and healing ourselves through, like, one practice is affirmations. And then you say something in the affirmative, and then you feel it. You notice your thoughts, you notice your feelings, you feel it in your body, and then you feel it in your soul. So it's mind, body, heart, soul, and the practice is called kata, but kata integrates all of it. It's very, very powerful. Since it's not active anymore, I'm definitely curious about the dance and about Edgewalkers. And I have an injury right now, and I'm just kind of wondering what your recommendation might be on movement to help heal, starting at kind of the
the
soul
physical
level.
level, at the
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I know that my soul is, I know that my body is meant to experience this pain right now through my soul based on what your wisdom offered earlier. But I'm trying a lot, like consciousness, and I'm also, I'm a clinician, I'm a trauma specialist. And so I have healed physical injuries from my patients through my somatic practice, but I'm a little stuck right now. So just wondering if you have any recommendations.
Well, I would be curious to work with you in the work that in Azul, if you feel to come tomorrow or the next day over the weekend, like come just check it out for yourself. It's a pretty safe space, and you can definitely work with wherever you are. Like that's the point, is to engage. We just had this whole conversation inside the event today, really kind of making it opening the possibilities for people that have limitation in some form, whether that's a physical, a soul, or whatever that is, that they feel like they can participate and explore and use the work to be present with themselves. That's the whole practice, is learning to cultivate a listening that includes your body, and making a space for that, and being kind of receptive to what comes. The work elicits a space where the information about what's happening becomes more clear. Okay. So I would encourage you to just try it. Okay. And to see. This event is kind of leading towards an embodiment training, but start with just come to the first thing. See if you like this way of working. Okay. And if you do, then let's be in touch, and we can see what the next things are. Okay. The dance works differently than Qigong. The dance works differently than yoga, because what you're being guided to do is to allow your body to move and to listen through the movement. And by listening through the movement, your soul is speaking to you. What is needed becomes clear through what you encounter in your movement. Okay? And part of it is specifically because it's free form.
Mhm.
It's not set. It's really you're dropping into the current of movement. You know, you're dropping into the energy that is here and that moves through our bodies, right? And you're using that current to help you to feel yourself. Okay? And it works. So so
Yeah.
We
does
have a
that help?
question from Rose and a question from Amy. So let's go with
Okay.
Rose. Thank you.
Yeah. Oops, Rose, we can't hear you, love. You're muted. Hi, beauty.
Thank you. I love the metaphor of us making surfboards to ride this wave of transformation together. And that brought up a deepening in the question of how to relate these Azul practices, these movement practices to daily life.
That's a very good question. Rose is speaking to you probably from Hawaii, yes? Land of surf. So the whole map of Azul is also meant to be a GPS for life. It's also meant to support your daily movements in life, not just what happens on the dance floor. Okay. So there's a core principle, there's a core part of Azul that has to do with 4 orientations. And these orientations support your movement, they support your embodiment, and they support your awakening. Okay? But very basically, they're listening, allowing, opening, and moving towards. Okay? So these 4. And there's a physicality to each. There's a way to explore each of these. Okay? And there's also a way to call on them when you need to. There's moments in life where it's very helpful to slow down, to check in, to listen, to understand what's happening. There's other moments in life where it's really helpful to allow something in. Think of how many times we just block what's coming in. And there's this physical practice of learning to allow in, to have that physical sensation in your body to support your ability to receive, okay? And there's allowing out, right? How do we allow what is inside of us to find its way into expression, to find its way out, okay? There's allowing things to be as they are. Can you feel the settling of that? Can you imagine a moment in your life where allowing something to be would support you and the situation to find its way? Okay? And I could keep going like this, but these are the orientations, okay? Opening is super valuable right now. We are not going to find our way if we can't open up to receive the guidance, to receive the new, to receive the information. If we stay closed, there's very little that can happen, right? So we cultivate this practice. I walk in my day just taking, anytime I feel overwhelmed, which happens a lot when I read the newspaper these days, you know, it's like I take a moment and I just tune in and open my awareness again. Wow. Just creates the space. Okay? The moving towards, just being reminded, like, can I move towards what's happening? Right? Can we meet what is happening in life? And when we do that, we actually discover that there's a sense of relief. We spend so much energy trying to like move around or away from. And when we can remember and harness our ability to move towards, oh, something relaxes. It's strange, but works really well. Okay? So this is an example of how the practice is relevant to life and helps in daily life, in our dance with life itself.
We can feel it in your
Yeah.
words, Amara.
Good.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
It does
you.
convey
Spoken.
through the Zoom screen to all of us. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
We have time for just one short question and one short answer because we're near the end of our
Okay, yeah.
time. So, Amy, would you like to ask your question
You
or make
may
your
have
comment?
you may have already answered the question in your last answer, in
Good.
your last thing, because I really could feel myself like closed, and it just in that opening could feel that there was a possibility for that this to shift. But I've danced different modalities of conscious dance, and I'm on the portal and things with you.
Right.
And I often find that after I'm finished dancing, I feel physically sick, like headache, body just nauseated kind of thing, carsick kind of feeling. And I wondered if there were, as you were saying, like opening up, I can feel like even after the dance, it kind of closed right back up again, and that maybe I'm not allowing. But did you have any other kind of like suggestions that might help that not happen every time I go to dance? Because I like to do it and then I feel terrible afterwards sometimes.
Okay. Yes, love. It's really important to be gentle with yourself. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it may be that it could help um, to maybe listen maybe a little bit more for what your body wants to do and can do, so that it stays a little closer to what it can handle. Okay. And to know that each step is really important. Okay. You don't have to like do all of them at once. Like it's really, you can discover the pace that's like going to work for you. And you can also understand, love, just on a physical level, that when we're moving the energy in our body, we are touching the things that we have tucked away. And it's not, I mean, it's not a good selling point for the work, but it's not that it's okay that it happens for you. Okay, it's really okay that your body is like detox, is like feeling the physical, like, wow, that was a lot. Okay, and I do know that if we stay with it together, okay, that we can find our way to a place where that doesn't happen for you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Mara, thank you. After that last sharing, I thought of there's a quote from the Course in Miracles that says, "Love brings up everything unlike love." And when we move into a higher space, whether it's love or conscious movement or meditation or whatever it may be, anything unlike that, as we work to raise consciousness or elevate our body, anything that is not in sync with that level of consciousness or awareness or even physical evolution is going to come up. It's, that's what I think is happening on the planet, that there is an awakening, and everything that's not of that awakening is just bubbling up to be transcended. So, that's the space I hold. But, I just I'm so grateful for your presence in the world, and taking the time today. And I think a lot of us would probably agree, for this so deep and so rich, and for what you shared, and for the work you're doing with Azul. And I invite everybody to really look at Amara's upcoming programs, or to dance with her when you can, whether it's live or otherwise, or online. And just so grateful for you being with us today, Amara. Thank you so much. And for all of you for taking time to just bring your beautiful presence with the Edgewalker group. And just so blessed, so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Patricia and Judy, and thank you all for being here for this moment together.
And before everybody leaves, we're going to have Judy. You have maybe a few announcements, just quick announcements about the upcoming cafes or anything with Edgewalkers we can share with the group.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'll make it very quick. Thank you. We have our next Edgewalker Cafe is scheduled for November 3rd. That might change depending on our speakers' availability. The best way to know about our Edgewalker Cafes, which happen once a month and which are free, and which take place in different time zones, because sometimes Patricia hosts it, sometimes I do, sometimes Susan Furness hosts it. And we have a new person who will be hosting, Sandra Bargeman. So we change time zones depending on the speaker and depending on who's facilitating. And so the newsletter, the Edgewalker newsletter, is the way to always be kept up to date with what's happening. And you can sign up in the newsletter at our website, www.edgewalkers.org. But right now we're scheduled for the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, for November 3rd, and I'll let you know if that changes through the newsletter and through the website itself on the homepage. And we have something scheduled for every month going forward. We're also in the midst of doing an Edgewalker certification program. I want to give Monica a heads up that Monica Ross is a part of that in Ireland, and will be joining our Edgewalker facilitator community when she graduates from that program. And Peggy O'Neill has gone through that, as has Susan Furness and Patricia. You and Susan were the first ones to go through that program. So in the coming year, if there's an interest, we'll hold more programs. We don't normally schedule them. We just wait to see if there's an interest. And I think that's all I have to say, other than to again say, Amara, thank you so much for the Edgewalker that you are, for the way that you build community, you raise the vibration of the planet, you help others to do the same, and it ripples out, and we can trust that and know that, and it makes a difference.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you all, and God bless. Have a good rest of your day, evening, wherever you might be. Amara, thank you so much. Love to you and Pier Paolo. Judy, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next cafe, if not sooner.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia.
Okay.
Aloha.
Thank you, Patricia.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say on.